To us about Bitcoin. Have you heard about Bitcoin? Are you invested in Bitcoin? I know that this is it's a massive, growing investment that everybody is looking towards. But are you missing the bandwagon? Well, do stay tuned. Bitcoin under discussion in a short while. But before we get there, let's have a look at the top story of the morning. President Jacob Zuma's lawyers will argue in the High Court in Pretoria today that he should not have to appoint a commission of inquiry into state capture in line with former Public Protector Thuli Madonselo's directives. Now, you'll remember in her report that was entitled The State of Capture last year, Madonsela directed Zuma to establish such a commission to be headed by a judge named by the Chief Justice. This followed allegations of widespread influence by the Gupta family on government appointments. For more on the story, let's cross live to Patricia Fasagi. She's in Pretoria. Patricia, a very, very good morning to you. Obviously, today is going to be a very big day for the president, but what will be argued? What will his lawyers be arguing for today?
Good morning, Leanne, and to our viewers watching. Certainly a big day, and it seems like the issue around the state capture report is not going away, because a year later here we are again in court and it's been argued. Now, you know that last year when the report was tabled by the former public protector advocate Thuli Madonsela, her remedial actions, of course, to the president, he immediately opposed those actions, and he was basically saying that the remedial actions violate the rule of law. They are inconsistent with the separation of power, and he was basically saying that the remedial actions as they stand tap into the space of course, the executive, and he felt that the public protector had overstepped her powers. And basically what is at the heart of what would be argued today is in her remedial actions, of course, she was indicating that the president should set up a judicial commission of inquiry, and that this particular judicial process should be overseen by Chief Justice Mogoeng, and that he should appoint the judge that, of course, would be at the helm of this particular judicial commission of inquiry, and only one name should be forwarded to the president. And that is what has, of course, upset the president, where he said that he does not agree with her remedial actions. And he has made it very clear through his legal teams over the months that he does not necessarily disagree with, in terms of what came out in the state capture report, in terms of her recommendations, but he does not agree with how she dictated in terms of how the remedial actions should be implemented, especially in terms of the setting up of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry and the judge that should be chosen by the Chief Justice Mogoeng. And what the president's lawyers are arguing and will continue to argue today is that only the president has the prerogative to set up such a commission of inquiry, and it is within his powers to decide which judge must head such a judicial process, saying that never under democratic South Africa has it been that somebody else other than the president had those powers, saying that this ultimately, if the remedial actions would be implemented, this would then be an abdication of his constitutional responsibilities as a president, and it would then mean that such a commission would be unlawful and would have to be nullified. So that is more or less what we will be hearing getting argued in court, that the remedial actions of the public protector basically, went a bit further. They stepped into the executive, and Advocate Thuli Madonsela didn't have any right to dictate to the president which judge should oversee such a commission of inquiry, and most importantly, she also does not have the powers to decide whether a judicial commission of inquiry should be set up. The president basically repeatedly emphasizing that only he can decide whether a judicial commission of inquiry should be set up and what the terms of terms and conditions of such a process should be. So it is really a case that has since drawn a lot of attention from the public, civil society and political parties. Leanne, we saw just last month that the Democratic Alliance was also here at this court, and they were trying to have the court to force President Jacob Zuma to immediately implement those remedial actions by the public protector. But of course, their attempt was rejected by the judge last month, and basically what the judge then argued was that there's still another process that's pending, and it is the process that is starting here today. And the judge said that the DA had failed at the time last month to, of course, prove to the court that there would be any negative consequences if we don't wait for this review application to be heard first. So it seems like a whole lot of people trying, from their angles to force the president to implement the remedial actions, but he has since taken it up for review, and that is the review application that would be perused here at court today to find out whether the remedial actions by the former public protector are standing the test of law, whether she operated within her frame of power, or whether she actually stepped into the frame of the executive. And Leanne, over the couple of months, we've heard a lot of debates, a lot of arguments of people talking about the issue of separation of power between, of course, the issue between the judiciary and the executive. Where do you draw the line? Up to where can the judiciary interfere in terms of the executive's responsibilities? And that goes to the heart of what the president is trying to emphasize through his application and through the court process that is unfolding here today. Basically trying to say that the executive space is his, and it creates a very sensitive situation and a little bit of political and judicial instability once the two interfere in one another's spaces.
Okay.
So,
all right, Patricia, we're going to have to interject there with Patricia Fasaki. I know that she's covering that for us. We will continue to get more of an update from her, but that, of course, is that trial that's going to, or hearing that's going to get underway, and the Pretoria court. So do stay tuned for that. We'll, I'm sure, talk to her again in the news.